Welcome to the Nerd Social. I'm Nathan.
I'm John.
And I'm Colin.
Hey, so we're gonna talk about What If tonight, and also Titans. What If Episode 3, which is called What If Mightiest
It's
Heroes?
like Avengers Never Assembled or
something
something.
like that. What if the Mightiest Heroes were taken out or something like that? And then Titans Episode 5, I think we are on now, right?
5, yep.
Which is called Lazarus. So, as usual, we're going to start with our spoiler-free thoughts about the episodes, and then we'll jump into what we think about the episode when we start delving into spoilers. So, John is back this week, so let John start with what do you think about What If? We'll start with What If.
Sure. This episode appeared to be the darkest of the three so far.
Yeah.
And definitely about the world losing its mightiest heroes. And I thought it was still a great take. It's always great to hear all the voice actors that are very familiar to us that have played the actual characters on screen. And then even the voices that they got for people who couldn't do it this time around. Lake Bell also played Scarlett Johansson's role for this one. I thought she sounded close enough. Mm-hmm. But actually, if you really listen closely, she sounded like Poison Ivy.
Yes.
Yeah, I wonder why. But no, it was still a great premise. The twist ending, I did not expect. And I won't spoil it for everyone, but it's definitely a twist ending. But it sounds like it definitely took off on a tangent based on a lot of internet theories that were happening around the time that I guess this was being made. Mm-hmm. So they took it and ran with it. I chuckled at it when I saw what was going on there. And again, it was great to see a lot of callbacks to the Avengers, all the years that led up to the Avengers, and including some of the scenes from very early Marvel films that's kickstarted all of this. So I thought it was a nice time to all of it. So I enjoyed it immensely.
Yeah, for me, I think that this one was very interesting in that it's, again, just as the title said, it's not assembled. What if they did not assemble? And so they really did a very good job of kind of weaving a good story as to why that didn't happen. And overall, I think that it's not as strong, I'd say, as the second episode. There were some kind of lulls here and there, but other than that, I think overall I did enjoy it. But I think that in terms of my personal kind of taste, I think that number 2 kind of hit me a little bit more than this one. This one was interesting. It was interesting overall, nice twist as John mentioned, and just good old-fashioned fun as well to kind of another interpretation, just like the other 2 episodes that we've seen so far.
Yeah, I enjoyed the mystery. I can understand what you're saying, Colin, about not liking it as much. There's a lot of time spent doing sort of homages to older films in the MCU. And whereas, as opposed to kind of spinning out, what the world will look like after a change happened, which is kind of what the first one did, and also to a much greater extent the second one. But I can understand also people saying this is their favorite one as well, just because they went very dark. It got very dark in this episode, and there definitely was a mystery that I guess all the pieces were there to solve. But we can talk a little bit more about whether or not all the pieces were there to solve. I mean, if you watched all the movies, you could probably solve the mystery. If you're someone just coming into the What If show, if the What If show is how you start the Marvel universe, for some reason, there was no way that you were going to be able to solve the mystery. The clues weren't necessarily there. You really had to be a Marvel fan to solve the mystery. And even as a Marvel fan, there were some red herrings as well, because I was thinking one thing until almost the end when I figured it out. So yeah. So it's difficult to talk about the episode without actually getting into spoilers. So, past this point, I think we all liked the episode to varying degrees. So definitely go watch the episode and also continue watching the show because I haven't been disappointed with any of the episodes. Although, like I said, I've liked some certain episodes better more than others. I kind of put this one probably second. Now that I'm thinking about it, just because I appreciated their willingness to go dark, which I wasn't expecting from Marvel or a Disney-owned Marvel property. Mm-hmm. So, all right. So at this point, we should get into spoilers. So spoiler alert! Past this point, go watch the episode because we're gonna start to go through everything in the episode. So we start on Monday. So Monday, there actually wasn't much that happened on Monday. This is the title card at the beginning of the beginning of the episode, except for Tony dying. They took out Tony first. They probably took out Tony first because, well, I don't know. I was gonna say the voice actor doesn't necessarily sound like Robert Downey Jr., but the voice actor apparently voices Tony Stark in a lot of animation, so that's probably why they brought him in. So he sounds similar enough, and I think he's going to show up in other episodes as well. So they're going to use him unless they can get. I don't know what they're going to do for season 2 because they're already greenlit season 2. So Tony gets taken out first. What did you guys think of this first episode? This is what I was talking about earlier when I said that they're basically doing homages to all of these movies. This is basically the beginning, or not the beginning, but the second or third scene within Iron Man 2 when he realizes that he has the poisoning, right? And and then whatchamacallit, sorry,
Black Widow overdid it.
Nick Fury catches up with him.
Right. Yeah, I think that this one was very. It definitely, again, like you said, Nathan, calls back to Iron Man 2. So this was a kind of like a pivot. If I remember correctly from Iron Man 2, this was kind of a pivotal moment in Tony's in that movie where Tony's kind of trying to find himself. He's at a wit's end, like almost like hit rock bottom pretty much. This is right after he got drunk and
this is after the party
with War Machine and stuff like that. He was already down and out, and then Nick Fury came in and basically talked some sense into him, and then he found out that Black Widow was a secret agent, and so it's like, you're fired. So in any case, so this is in all honesty, I think this is a pretty good interpretation of that scene. But also, like you said, in the beginning, the non-spoiler part is such a twist to that scene, and it's so unexpected. And you thought, like, I initially thought it was that his poison probably took him out. Mm-hmm. Like, it made it seem as though that was the case. So that was very interesting.
Yeah, I thought it was poison at first as well. So like until the Monday doesn't last very long. I think it's just basically this scene, and it's basically this scene because everyone is shocked. So I thought it was her until the next day, and then I knew it wasn't her. But go ahead.
Yeah, it was nice. Again, a nice callback, nice reminder of how things were and how things started. And then it was a big shock. It leaves everyone's mouths hanging open as soon as you see that happen. You're just like, what? Okay, and then that's the start of all the things that are a bit of a twist, right? So this is definitely not going to be the same as what we thought it was going to be.
Yeah. So yeah, actually, this was about halfway through the movie, not the second scene, because I haven't seen this movie in a very long time. Sorry. You're right. This is the first movie that Natasha shows up in, because she doesn't show up in the first one. All right, so we get Tuesday, because that's basically all that happens on Monday. Still start dying. Tuesday, they are taking Natasha to see Pierce, which is why I thought it was Pierce, right? Because they name check Pierce. Pierce. So in my head, I'm thinking, what Pierce has found the Avengers Initiative. He can't let Mick put this team together. We already know from Winter Soldier they're creating these giant ships to kill people who could be potential threats to Hydra. So I just assumed at this point that it was Pierce until much later in the episode. So yeah.
Yeah, this was the homage to the elevator scene in Winter Soldier, pretty much, with the Shield agents. Yeah,
Yes.
that was interesting there.
By the way, I don't know if you guys talked in the previous 2 episodes. I'm loving the animation.
It's
smooth, clean. I love it. Yeah.
It's very the art direction and it's very beautiful. This one, not as much as the first one, and definitely some of the second one, but I definitely still like the art decoration here, the art direction here, and the animation here. It's very it's painterly. It's animation, animated paint basically, which is awesome. Yeah.
Cell shading, I think is what they call it.
Yeah, I also remember that this scene where she just like kicked a lot of butt, but it was like almost like that kind of anime-ish type of thing where it's like that, and it was like so eye popping. Like she made those type of moves. It's like faster than Speed and Bullet type of action.
Yeah, if you rewatch this scene, and actually this is why I said I'm kind of on the edge on whether or not this is like my favorite episode, because this is the only one that I rewatched immediately. I rewatched all of them, but I rewatched this immediately. If you track her fight in this scene, the way that they choreographed or had the camera follow her leg, so her leg kicks someone and then it goes. So the camera follows her leg as it's moving around.
The camera's attached to her leg.
So yeah, it was a pretty cool fight scene. So from here we go on to New Mexico and Thor. And they actually fixed Thor's hair in this cartoon because his hair didn't look this good. It looks better now.
It looks terrible.
It looks better now, but it does not.
Really great hair.
Yeah. So he didn't have any lines here because they didn't really need any lines here for him. But the thing that's different about this scene, besides what's about to happen, is that Nick Fury wasn't here because Nick Fury was dealing with Tony's stuff because Tony was still alive and now Tony's dead. But Nick Fury is actually here in this scene, and he's the one who tells Barton to let him pick up the hammer. And before it was Coulson. There was little changes there.
Right.
What?
Oh, go ahead, Nathan.
Go ahead. No.
So I spoke to a friend about this because he watched this scene and basically he was kind of perplexed how he ended up dying, because he was like, why is it that an arrow, like he's an Asgardian god.
I guess he forgot.
How is it that a simple arrow pierced him and then he died? He was kind of like perplexed as to why that was the case.
Yeah, he forgot the movie then.
Yeah, so I just want to hear your both of your takes on that.
I guess he just forgot the specifics of the movie. Odin took his powers before he sent him to Earth. He was basically a human before he left Earth. When he was to teach him a lesson, he stripped him of all his powers.
If you remember from the first movie where that big armored guy smacks him across the town, he essentially died at that moment. And then Odin said, it gives him his powers back, and boom, and he comes back. He's in his full garb, and Jane Foster says, "Yeah, that looks really good on you."
Yeah.
So he gets his powers back.
Yeah. Also, if you remember, right after this, when he can't pick up the hammer, they're able to apprehend him and get him to knock him out with is it tasers or a needle or something like that? Because when he's in custody, they just pump him full of drugs. If he had all his powers, they wouldn't be able to even probably pierce his skin. So they were so yeah.
Okay.
So he's vulnerable at this point.
Yeah.
Still strong, but vulnerable.
Yeah, he's as strong as he looks physically. He basically looks like a big human. So that's why he was able to beat all those people. Or if you remember, he beat all those people as he got in, and he's skilled because he's a Asgardian warrior.
Yep.
But he's still human here. So that's why he was able to kill him.
That will be my explanation to my friend then.
Yeah. So yeah, Clint is up in the crow's nest, and then we get the crash of lightning, and He's gone. At this point, what did you guys think? What do you think was happening? What did you think happened here? Like at first, I thought like something else shot him, and then I saw his arrow. I was like, no, he got shot with one of his arrows.
Yeah. I thought somebody tickled him, tripped him, bumped him, something. But obviously, we couldn't tell. Something unseen or invisible or a ghost was doing it. But I had no. Yeah. I had no theories at this point other than, hey, clearly we can't see whatever's doing this. Right?
Yeah, I thought at this point it was more of, when you said Invisible John, it kind of reminded me of Ghost from Ant-Man and Roth.
I thought it was Ghost.
I was thinking that. Yeah, I was thinking that, or it must have been some type of mind control, because again, we're near the Avengers, so it's like maybe there's some type of mind control involved. I don't know if it was. I didn't actually think of Loki, but I just thought mind control probably, because Barton was mind controlled in the Avengers.
So I didn't think Ghost here, but I definitely thought Ghost later on in the episode when Natasha's getting beat up in the library.
Yeah,
I thought, is this Ghost? So then Clint is put into custody, and then he's dead.
This one I was like, what the hell happened here? I couldn't even guess what happened.
Yeah, the cell was sealed. No one got in. I didn't know what I couldn't. Until later on, like I said, when Natasha's getting beat up, and it's like, oh, I guess someone who was invisible could do all these things. So I was thinking Ghost. And then we get Wednesday. I like these titles.
What a crappy week so far. It's like three Avengers died already in 2 days.
I don't know if we mentioned at the top, this is all part of Fury's big week. So all like Iron Man 2, Thor, and the Hulk is supposed it's all the Incredible Hulk was all supposed to happen during 1 week. And if you look back in the scenes from all these movies, you can see references to all the other movies in them. So like in Iron Man 2, you can see scenes from the Incredible Hulk in the background. At the end of the Incredible Hulk, Tony Stark talks to the General, right? And then inside of Iron Man 2, Coulson says that Coulson is usually Tony's handler, and he says I have to go to New Mexico. Right. So all this happens. It's supposed to happen at the same time. So this is canonical MCU stuff. So that the fact that this happened, his week was really eventful in the MCU, and this week in this universe is very tragic. Yeah. So Wednesday, Black Widow, Natasha meets up with Jennifer. I was gonna say Jennifer Connelly.
Betty.
Previous Hulk movie. That's another Hulk movie.
No, this one's supposed to be Liv Tyler.
It's Liv Tyler. It's Liv Tyler.
Liv Tyler. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, it's supposed to be.
And they didn't get Liv Tyler cut to voice the actress though. The actress that voices this character isn't Liv Tyler though. No. So she meets up with Betty Ross at Culver. I think it's Culver University in Virginia.
Culver University, yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So and she wants to use her expertise as a bioengineer, and I think this is the hint. And I sort of for like a moment or for a second when she said microscopic, like not microscopic, she said like a tiny projectile or micro projectile. For a moment in the back of my head, I was thinking what the solution was. But then like it left my head, because things kept happening. Because at the same time as this is happening, she gets a call from Fury about Barton being dead, and she's like, this is where she's like, who do I need to kill? Yeah. And Loki shows up. So there's a bunch of other stuff happening at the same time. So even though I had that thought in the back of my head, I didn't have the time to actually like to mature, because there was just a bunch of stuff happening at the screen. So
by the way, those are some cool aviator shades on her. The animation there is pretty impeccable, actually.
For
the shadow.
Yeah. So at this point Odin's asleep, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's in his Odin sleep. So like he has free reign to do whatever he wants to, and the Warriors 3 don't know don't know that he's a traitor at this point. So now all they know now is that Thor's dead. So he was able to bring the entire army to Earth, to Midgard. So yeah, this is they definitely try to be consistent with all these movies. So in telling the story. So she finds Banner in the closet, and they completely changed him what he looks like to Mark Ruffalo. So they're basically retconning the Incredible Hulk.
Correct. Because this was the Edward Norton Bruce Banner at the time.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So he gets shot here. I don't remember on the bridge. Does he get shot, or does he get what happens on the bridge before he turns into?
He gets shot. He gets shot from like a way up high somewhere.
In the movie, I mean, in the movie, in the Incredible Hulk movie. How does?
In the Incredible Hulk movie, it was like John said.
Tear gas.
It was tear gas.
Okay.
The same spot where they were in that little that overpass,
that
hallway,
right.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole thing's filled up with smoke and tear gas, I guess, and that's when
that's what that's what set him off. All right, so. Mm-hmm. Here it's a gunshot, or what we think is a gunshot. His demise is the most gruesome. So
it is.
We go.
Pretty bad. That was very Japanese anime there. Mm-hmm. Any of the violent ones that
Akira,
you see.
Very Akira.
Yeah,
anime.
very Akira. Exactly. I was thinking Akira right there.
You have to be. I guess you have to be creative about how to kill the Hulk because it's so supposed to be unkillable. So yeah, a simple projectile wouldn't really work. So yeah, this scene is just yeah.
Yeah. Poor Hulk.
It was so they did try to pull back from the gore because what you should have gotten is a very like wet sound and a bunch of splashing. Instead you got like a mist. Which in some cases might be even worse because he's basically like vaporized or whatever from the inside. Not an awful way to die.
Yeah, poor Hulk. I'm just very poor, tragic death.
So Natasha, this is like I said, this is when I thought that it was Ghost when she was getting beat up. All the way until the end when she says it's about hope, and then it was like, okay, now I know what it's about.
Yeah, that was a reveal.
Yeah, she calls Fury and she says it's about hope, and then that's the last we see of Natasha. And she dies off screen, I guess, and maybe she's dead. I don't know.
Yeah. But they had a coffin of her later on, so she did. They
have a coffin for the Hulk too, but you think they have any remains in that? He basically blew away.
You never know.
He basically blew away in the wind.
Catch all the vapors, I guess. I don't know.
They had a coffin. I think they assumed that she's dead, but I don't know. Maybe she's dead. Yeah. I mean, he's definitely dead, but I don't think, like I said, anything's in the coffin. So yeah. So. Then, Fury has, his Avengers initiative. He's looking at the list, and Coulson says, you're the last person on the list. And then he reaches for this pager. I wonder if they made this move. They made this show at the exact right time because had they made it just a few years ago, this little piece wouldn't have been in here because they wouldn't even have thought to do the prequel. But to make it consistent. Of course, there's another Avenger that he could call. That he decides to hold off on, which is interesting. He makes a deal with Loki, and then we get to Thursday. Yeah. This scene is funny. How long did it take you guys to realize that it was? Well, I figured that it was going to be Ant-Man, but it actually, I didn't know he was going to show up as Yellowjacket. For people unfamiliar with the comic books, Yellowjacket is just another persona of Hank Pym, a persona in which he beats his wife, and he's very terrible. So the Yellowjacket that showed up in the first Ant-Man movie, I guess this was like a reimagining of the bad guy, but Hank Pym took on he's taken on a lot of personas. He's taken on Ant-Man, of course, Giant Man, and also Yellowjacket.
So and he also created Ultron.
Oh, he also
back in the day.
He also created, yeah. Hank Pym is very problematic.
Yeah. Is that really Michael Douglas?
It is Michael Douglas. It is Michael Douglas. Yeah.
That guy does a good Michael Douglas.
Yeah, it's Michael Douglas. He came back.
Let's see Michael Douglas.
It's interesting that they got the old guys to come back and do this, and they couldn't get like Robert Downey. I don't know why Robert Downey Jr. didn't.
I think it's because
But this is Michael Douglas.
He's now. Like Michael Douglas is just like on the older side. He probably doesn't get many roles anymore. So it's like, so he's just like, I'm just doing it for fun. Get out of the house.
Sure.
If you remember, Robert Downey Jr. made a huge paycheck just to show up in all these extra movies. So
correct.
I can imagine
how much they would. He probably blow up their entire budget, and they needed to, make the animation. So maybe that's the case. I don't know. I feel like at this point he's made enough money. He
has.
Like I feel like he could have done it for a little bit less. I mean, just for the fans. Yeah. I mean, the fans have made him to make the fans happy. The fans have made him so spectacularly rich. Marvel took a risk on him. And because they took a risk on him, I think they only paid him like $500,000 for the first movie. But
the only thing I can think of is that the characters that are technically no longer in the Marvel universe decided not to bring the voices back for.
I don't know, but we were talking about this for the second episode though. Dave Bautista said that he wasn't asked. Which doesn't make any sense to me, unless he's not going to show up for. Maybe they ask people who are going to show up for multiple episodes, or have a lot of lines, because Michael Douglas has a lot of lines here, right? If you only have like a couple lines, maybe they didn't. The people, some people thought that it wasn't worth their time, or they didn't think that they wanted to bother them for it, because the Drax scene is only a couple lines, and then he goes away. Now,
and also, I think I mentioned that Dave Bautista was like working a lot at that time too, probably when they were doing it. And I think that Robert Downey Jr. was also working on a movie. Yeah, I mean, his movie wasn't that good.
The Doolittle. Yeah. It might be the Doolittle movie. That's right. That's what he was probably busy with that. That makes sense. So maybe he'll show up in season 2. And Denai Guerrero showed up for a line, but I think she's going to show up in future episodes of What If as well, so they probably had her record all of it at the same time.
Well, one more thing about Robert Downey Jr. I mean, about Tony Stark, he is going to come back, because we saw in the previews with Killmonger, so he is going to come back eventually for.
The character is going to come back, but I think it's going to be voiced by the same actor who voiced it in this episode, though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay, so we get the reveal that it's Yellowjacket, and we find out that in this universe, so I guess if they told you the what if at the very beginning, you would be able to find out the mystery. So the what if is that what if Nick Fury recruited Hope Van Dyne, and what happens is that he recruits her, she becomes an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., and she dies. In Odessa, obviously killed by the Winter Soldier, because if you remember, Odessa is where Fury sent Natasha to pick up some scientists, and she got shot. She not really got killed, right? She got shot all the way through, and apparently, Hope wasn't as skilled, and she died, unfortunately.
In this universe, you're thinking that Winter Soldier did exist because again, in going back to episode 1, that was a universe in which, Bucky was still Bucky.
Yeah, this is obviously a different universe, because the last scene we see is him getting Cap out of the ice. Mm-hmm. So this universe is very similar to the MCU universe, except for that one change. Like I said, Hope becoming a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent and apparently dying in the Call of Duty. Mm-hmm. I didn't catch on that this wasn't and then they showed you all the ways that he killed everyone, basically by shrinking down and killing and manipulating things, except for the Hulk, because he's a very special case. He basically enlarged his heart so that it pumped too much blood to all of his organs and blow him up. That was very.
So this was the thing that I think the writers got wind of on the internet. If you recall, Infinity War, when that came out, they all said, "Oh, Ant-Man is going to come to the rescue in Endgame by going up Thanos' ass and do something up there somewhere to kill him." And there was a lot of chatter about it. I think even some of the stars got into a little Twitter beef about it or discussion. And I feel like this was born out of that.
Yeah,
they couldn't have him go up Hulk's ass, but instead they'll have him go to his heart. Right?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think this is the definitive answer who's the strongest Avenger, though, as well. Ant-Man. If he becomes sadistic, Ant-Man is the strongest Avenger.
Yeah.
I mean, he killed Hawkeye like this by going in his inner ear, right?
Yeah.
And just by going in there and doing his thing inside,
He could have done anything. He obviously killed him in some way. Maybe he could have just clipped a vessel and gave him an aneurysm. Who knows what he did? But he killed Hawkeye that way. He killed Thor with just loosening one of his fingers, Hawkeye's fingers. He maybe killed Tony in the same way. Maybe an aneurysm, like he shot into his body. And he died that way. So
No, he had the syringe. Remember, it was the syringe.
Right,
he was inside the syringe, and he went in.
What I'm saying is that when he was shot into his body, he could have just created an aneurysm or whatever.
I see what you mean.
He was a silent killer, invisible killer.
Yeah. So I didn't catch on to this being Loki until. So I just thought that Nick Fury was just blocking his punches very good, but he didn't seem any phased at all until he did this, and it was like that's not.
I thought it was a life model decoy or something he did, Yeah. So.
I didn't think it was Loki either. I was like, does he have all these special skills that we never knew about? It's like,
he's a super soldier.
Yeah, I mean, they're about the same age, right? Or actually, Michael Douglas is a little bit older. So when he was blocking the punches, it's like, okay, he's blocking your punches. But when he does this backflip, it's like, this is not Nick Fury.
By the way, his comments were hilarious.
Yeah.
Michael Douglas the whole time. He's
like, you're pretty spry for a guy behind a desk. It's like, his performance is real. I don't think that Michael Douglas. I'd have to look on his IMDb page, but I don't think he's done a whole lot of voice acting. But he does a really great job here, because voice acting is is difficult sometimes for actors who aren't used to it, and unless you get all the cast together, and most animation they don't get the cast together, they just have to say their lines against. They just have to say their lines, and they get some direction from a director.
Yeah,
he does a really good job here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He does. I don't know if you guys get to watch the Kominsky Method. He's awesome in that too.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen it, but I know this is the last season. So now that they'll finish with it, I'll go back and watch it. Yeah.
Hilarious stuff.
Yeah. So
this was the indication that has to be Loki, right?
After the flip, I knew it was Loki, but also you say Michael Douglas's lines were funny, but also the nonchalant way that Nick Fury was talking was like, this is not Nick Fury. It's like, he's like, I don't. It's like you never cared about her. He's like, I don't care about any of them. Like,
true. That is very true. That's something Loki would say.
Yeah. Definitely.
Then we see the Loki with his duplication projections, as we got a long explanation about this in the Loki show. This is what he was doing.
Yeah.
And then we get. I forget the Friday title card. So this is the end of Thursday, and then on Friday, Loki takes over of the world. So that's how we that's sort of how we end it in this world anyway. but the Watcher says, there's always hope when someone keeps their good eye on whatchamacallit, basically calling back to I think was it Winter Soldier when Fury says that I'll keep my good eye on you or something like that.
Yeah, I keep my eye on you. I think that was Iron Man 2, but then like you have to keep both eyes open was in Winter Soldier when he talked to Pierce at the end.
Right.
Yeah, but I think I'm speculating that there might be a continuation of this particular episode.
I think there's going to be continuation.
It sounds as though they're going to set something up here with the continuation of this.
All of them end on a cliffhanger. So the beginning,
right.
the first one ends on a cliffhanger as well, where Captain Carter meets Nick Fury and Hawkeye, and obviously in that universe, Hawkeye did not die. So at the end of that episode. And then the end of the second episode, Ego is about to destroy the planet and the universe. So the last two episodes, they don't end very well. They head on Cataclysm this one has a little bit of hope because after he says "Welcome back, Cap," which is basically what I think he says in the Avengers movie. But you think he's talking about Captain America, but Captain Marvel was right behind him, so I think he was talking to her. That was the ending of the episode. It was a pretty good episode, I think. And like you said, I think that they're going to revisit this later on, and when they revisit it, we'll see what happens to this world that Loki has taken over. I think that the way that these are going to cross together is that there's an episode coming up with Doctor Strange, and I think he's going to break open the multiverse in that episode because it seems from the trailers that there's like an evil Doctor Strange. Mm-hmm. So I think he's going to bring heroes from different universes to fight. And maybe that they'll be the ones fighting off Loki on this world. I don't know.
Yeah, they might even end up in a Spider-Man trailer.
Yeah, exactly. I'm speculating for that. Just a side note. I think that was probably some evil Doctor Strange. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I have to watch the next Doctor Strange episode to see if he did something or they kicked him out of that universe, and then he went into the original MCU universe or something like that.
Yeah. It definitely looked like an evil. It looked like he definitely acted weird in the Spider-Man trailer. So
right,
who knows what's happening there? But there's definitely more to see there. Also, because I dissected these trailers over and over again to make videos. There is a scene with Captain Carter standing next to T'Challa Star-Lord, but on the other side of other side of Captain Carter is Black Panther, and that could be T'Challa or that could be someone else.
Star-Lord, Panther,
or it could be Killmonger because Killmonger's going to show up. Killmonger's going to show up in that episode later on when he saves Tony Stark, right?
Right.
So. Who knows that's probably one of the last episodes of the season.
That means he might appear in the next Black Panther movie. You might get Michael B. Jordan back. That's just like the fans want.
Maybe. We'll see. Mm-hmm. Any final thoughts about this before we move on to Titans?
Lots of questions. Still a lot of questions, and can't wait for any of the answers, and then connect whether or not it connects to the movies that are coming out later this year. It's just so intriguing overall.
Yeah. They're too short. I want them to be longer. As soon as they're over, it's fascinating to see the what ifs, right? I mean, there's a reason behind why even it started in Marvel Comics, right? Mm-hmm. What if, and then and DC also has something called
Elseworlds. Yeah,
they like to see the alternate takes on a lot of these things, and here's why we're seeing it. They're very creative, and they go against the grain, against expectations, and it's fun. It's fun to see the stuff that could have been, or what should have been, or perhaps just what if it went slightly this way, the butterfly effect.
Yeah,
and it's very fun. I wish they were longer.
Here's the thing though. Like I want like 10 seasons of this. Like as the Marvel as the Marvel universe continues to evolve, they continue to do it. But I think this show might be a bridge too far for like normal people. Apparently the Twitter chatter on this show is a lot less than it was on Loki or Falcon and the Winter Soldier or WandaVision. It's people just don't like animation for some reason. They think it's for kids.
I think it's for kids, yeah.
Which is annoying. Which means that we're definitely going to get season 2, but I don't know what we're going to get after that. Because I mean, these stories are fun, like you said. They're just fun to see. Just to play around with. It's like playing around with the toys, basically. see what you get. I hope we get more seasons of this, but like I said, American culture, they don't respect animation, unfortunately.
You have to hope for the younger generation, Nathan. You have to hope for them. They love their anime. So
right, but this is really an animation geared towards adults, which is what the issue is. And say like Japan, their entire culture, subcultures that like animation that's geared towards adults, but unfortunately in America, that isn't the case yet. Anyway, if there ever was going to be a bridge to that, this would be the show, and just people are not talking about it. They didn't talk about this episode. They talked about the first one, and maybe they should have did the second one first to get people talking about it, because it kind of dropped off a cliff after that. Apparently, the Twitter chatter. I don't know.
Yeah. Like I said, I think that I just think that younger folks do enjoy it, but it's just like you said, maybe too niche or even a subculture where it's like if you meet someone, oh, did you watch What If, or did you you're a What If person. So I spoke to a colleague of mine today from work, and basically, he's like, yeah, it is a subculture, and whether you get really piqued your interest when you talk this type of stuff. So, but if you mainstream wise, you don't get that type of chatter at all.
Unfortunately.
I wonder if you get more chatter if the animation was completely digital, CGI, that is.
Well,
you think it would have a different...
You mean like
it wasn't that way, so...
You mean like when you say completely digital, you mean sort of like Lion King? The Lion King movie digital? No,
digital as in... what I meant by is more like the... exclusively computer graphics 3D models versus cell shading. I'm just wondering if it would have had a different reception.
I don't know. I actually I like the art. Like I said, I really like the art.
I do too, but I'm just wondering if general audiences have a taste for seeing something that looks more like Incredibles or something like that.
Yeah, I guess so. Maybe that's possible. I stopped trying to figure out what general audience is like years ago. I like what I like, and I spend time on what I like. So anyway, all right. So let's jump over to Titans. Talk about Titans. All right. So I guess we can talk about our feelings about the last episode, spoiler free. So Colin, do you want to start with what you thought about Lazarus?
Sure, definitely. Clue. The title is a clue. If you've watched, like I said last week, if you watched any of the DC animated series, you know exactly what this is all about. It is already like there for you. Can have an idea of it. I think that overall, I like this episode a lot better than the last one. But they kind of cheated a little bit. And I'll explain why I say what I said in the spoiler part of this review. But overall, I think it was pretty solid. I think that it does kind of reinvigorated the show a little bit, because there was a slight drop, I would say, for me personally. And we talked about this last week as well, as to some of the choices that were made, but overall, I say pretty enjoyable. It kind of reaffirmed my confidence in it, and hopefully, they'll have more episodes that are like this rather than the one that was from the previous week.
Yeah. Okay. John?
This episode, it it was definitely more focused on one character. And because of that, I think that narrative choice definitely lends more towards more attention to this character, more background, more details, and we certainly got flashbacks as well, and filled in a lot of blanks that to questions that we had as to how things got to this point. So in that respect, I thought it was very successful, and because of that, it kept my attention. However, my criticism is that if you look at it from the other end, they really, really wanted to make some kind of Bat Family TV show instead, right? Because to me, it feels like just the writers, they really enjoy writing Bat characters. And when I say Bat characters, any of the characters in the whole Batman universe or family of characters, they clearly enjoy that, and they seem to falter a little bit when it actually comes to some of the other Titans characters, because the attention that was given to this particular character in this episode, I thought, why can't they do that for all the other ones? This was good. They filled in the blank. It wasn't the greatest of all the choices. Not everything worked well, but for the most part, it worked well. And again, I think the writers really leaned towards that, and it seems like, you know what, maybe they should have just made a Gotham show or something like that, or Bat Family. Just call it Bat Family, and then and go with that show. But again, I like the episode. Definitely agree with you, Colin. Stronger than the last episode, but I still have my criticism on some of the choices that they made.
They make it so difficult too, John. It's like they make it so difficult for any type, and all three of us are DC fans, you know, to various degrees. But it's just like they make it so difficult. It's like, why do you have to make it so difficult on yourself? We want to like this, but why? Stop being so difficult. Just give us what we want.
I said that to Nathan in a chat just the other day. I said, you know, I just don't get some of the choices they've made so far, and that's just as a series as a whole. Again, I want to enjoy it. These are characters we love, characters we like, characters we've read and followed, and I get they want to do something different, but did you have to go that far left? Did you have to go that far right? This one just went off a cliff on some of these things, and in this particular case, it still doesn't. Even though they filled in the blanks, it still doesn't answer a lot of questions for me as to what the hell, why did they go that way? I just don't get it. So.
Yeah, as you said, we were talking about this through chat earlier in the week, or maybe it was end of last week. Yeah, the show has a lot of potential. Unfortunately, it has. I mean, like if it was a bad show, like completely bad, it would be easy. We wouldn't watch it. We don't. Correct. There's certain shows based upon superhero properties where we don't talk about them because it wouldn't be worth our time to talk about them every week. It wouldn't be worth our time to even do season recaps of them because they're not that good. And we were actually talking about this a couple weeks ago on I think the stream last week we were talking about this, like the Flash. Like the Flash was a great show that you wanted to talk about maybe the first season, maybe the second season, but it's not worth talking about now. It's not great. I still watch the show, but like while doing other things, like it's on in the background, so I get an idea of what they're doing this season, but it's not well written. But there's so much potential in this show. You want it to be good, but they make weird choices. Like last week was just weird, and I don't know. And I appreciate what they did this week. Now they're doing a different take on this story, which is fine, as long as you and as I was watching the episode, I realized that they were doing a different take, and you're not, even as a fan, you're not upset about it as long as the writing is good, and the writing was good, and the writing also followed. If you saw the previous season, it followed up on what happened to this character, what happened to Jason Todd, without giving away too much about what happened in the episode. It follows up on the ordeals that he had in season 2. So it was consistent writing. It was consistent with what happened last season, and also it was good writing. But they're not consistently good every episode. They don't like you said, John. They're not giving as much care to all the characters as they are to this character. And I sort of understand why they're doing that, because he's basically the antagonist this season, and you sort of you had to explain why he's the antagonist. But I don't know. What do you know? How many episodes? Do you guys know how many episodes are in this season?
No.
I don't quite know. I'm just speculating. How much was it in season 2
I
and
think
1?
10 or
10?
10 or 11.
Probably going to be around that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're at episode 5 now, right? We're at the halfway point. If they're going to have 10, and I don't know where. I mean, I think Rachel's going to show up again next week, maybe, because I've seen like the trailers has her in it. So the trailer for the season has her in it. So she's going to show up at some point. But
You talking about Leslie or Rachel? Leslie?
Rachel, the Raven.
Oh, Rachel. Okay, Rachel.
Yeah. So she might show up. She might show up again later on to do something. I don't know. But yeah, they definitely need to focus on the other characters, or have the writing as consistent from the week to week as it was. So I mean, it's a recommendation for this episode, and it's still, I guess, a recommendation for the season or the show, because, like I said, they have really, really high highs, and then they have really low lows, and that's the case with a lot of DC stuff for some reason. They're very inconsistent, and they do really good stuff, and then they do, I don't know.
Yeah.
What
I
happens?
mean, it's true for the animation stuff too. I mean, the animated universe as well. It's like there's some good ones, and then there's some, like icky ones, and then and also the other thing that I want to ask is that is Doom Patrol coming out soon too? So that's probably why they want to match, at the end of Titans. And,
Doom Patrol comes out in September. Yes, it comes out in September.
Okay.
That show is consistently well written, but it doesn't get as much attention as Titans. But that show is. I can't think of a bad episode. I mean, there have episodes that are better than the others, but I don't think I've watched a bad episode of Doom Patrol. I don't know if you guys have seen the entire both seasons.
I haven't finished it.
No.
Yeah, I need to finish it, and yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, it's a very well written show. Unfortunately, they didn't get to finish their season last season because of course of COVID. I mean, there are much worse things that happened in the world, of course, last year because of COVID. But the end of their season is going to be the beginning of the season with Doom Patrol. They had to do that because of the pandemic. I have no idea why Titans did it last year, because it made no sense that they did it last year. Like what the beginning of their season 2 was the end of season 1. They should have just did that at the end of season 1, but they didn't. But whatever. I don't know.
I agree.
I think we're spending a whole lot of time griping about the show in general, because it's a little annoying. Because, like I said, we want it to be good. So we want to jump into, I guess, some spoiler talk about the episode. Let me pull up some of the images, and then we can jump into spoiler talk. So for you guys, are you going to continue watching it?
Yeah, I'll continue.
I mean, I get, like I said, I give it some hope. There's some hope that it might be good. And then when it's good, I would brag to say, hey, I had when it was, and now I'm getting the reward from it. So that's
yeah. All right.
I'll keep watching the adult take. Yes, there's a lot of adult language. At the same time, not that it bothers me, but I just like the fact that they're approaching this way more adult compared to other iterations of these characters we've seen. It's just that it's frustrating, like we all are talking about right now, when they make certain narrative choices or character choices where you're just like, that's really out of left field. Why did they do that?
Yeah. All right, so let's jump into the spoiler talk on this episode. So spoilers ahead, and we're going to just jump into some screenshots here. All right, so we start with, I think it's a flashback to season 2. Like, Jason is having nightmares. And this is actually the best that I've seen Bruce, this version of Bruce in this show, because
Caring Bruce.
Huh? Yeah, caring
Care
Bruce.
Bear Bruce.
Not caring Bruce, but also they give him some scenes later on that also actually utilizes this actor. We were talking about this last week, and I think we talked about this in chat as well. His American accent is terrible, but he is a great actor. So I in this episode you got to see how great an actor he is with this scene, and also later on in the episode as well. So he's very protective or concerned about Jason here at the beginning of this episode, and then we get. If you guys remember what this girl's name is from the episode, Molly. Yeah. So we get a little bit more background on his motivations, right? And this is from the comics as well. He was like a street kid, right? Or was he? Yeah. He stole Batman's wheels off his Batmobile in the comic, and then he decided, you know what? I'm going to take you home and train you to be a vigilante like me, which is a weird choice, but it's Batman. He's crazy. So yeah, he was a street kid, but they kind of really lean into it here and show you how this is all he has, and I think that Bruce means well, but he has no real understanding of what his life was before he met him, because his life, as tragic as Bruce's life wasn't as bad as his life in a lot of different ways. Like his mother was a drug dealer, a drug addict. What you remember what his father was like in and out of jail or something like that? I forget what happened to his father.
It was just bad.
It was just yeah. And then he was on the street with Molly here, right? So they're having this conversation about this missing kid, and they mention that the police aren't looking for him because he's a brown kid. Yeah. So they try to hatch a plan to find him, and they go towards this guy or go to ask questions of this guy from their old life, and then we see more glimmers of Jason's issue right here. And I appreciated this. I appreciated them taking the time to explain this, because given what he does in like episode 3 to Hank, you have to spend the time explaining how he could have turned so far left, and what would have driven him to connect with Crane, because we find out at the end of episode 4 that he told Crane everything. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I think they actually needed a whole hour to explain how he was like someone entrusted with all these secrets, and then he turned so radically. So yeah, we get a couple scenes here where him being humiliated by this guy, and also I actually thought he was gonna. I thought he was gonna like react, right? What did you guys think here? I thought he was gonna like.
It threw me off. It threw me off because I didn't realize that. I mean, I know the nightmare scene was to set up the fact that he's still traumatized. Yeah. And that he's he freezes here. I thought they should have shown something maybe a little extra here to show that he is he froze, and that's why this guy. It wasn't but they do hit it several times. They hit it several times so that you're. Yeah. By the time he's seeking out Crane, it's obvious that he's having issues with fear. Correct. But this scene here was definitely confusing.
Yeah, it was confusing. It was like I thought this guy thought he basically gets in his face and he says, "You don't know who I am," and he pulls a gun on him and he's not disarming him. I feel like this is a situation that he and Batman will probably be in a lot of different times. Criminals will put guns to their heads all the time, and he freezes, and not only freezes, he gets like thrown to the floor and kicked several times as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and later on when he's in the sessions with Leslie, it's obvious that that's what's happened here, because he's asking all these questions about Crane and fear and stuff like that. It's obvious in retrospect. So you're not like puzzling about this like through the entire episode, but I don't think the actor conveys here that he's afraid. He just looks surprised.
Yeah.
Which makes him look incompetent as opposed to afraid.
Correct, and I think again, like you said, in retrospect, after he gets with Dr. Leslie Tompkins and the sessions start going, it's more it's revealed even more that and made more obvious to the fact that this guy, his psychological makeup right now is that he feels naked without the Robin suit.
Yeah.
And if he had on, so if we watch this scene again, and let's say he was in his Robin suit, he probably would have kicked his butt.
I don't know though, because the reason that the stem or the root rather, not the stem, the root of his issues are from season 2 when Deathstroke kidnaps him, right, and throws him off the building, and that's what he keeps replaying in his head. So he ran after Deathstroke in a very similar way as he runs after the Joker in this season. Yeah. And it didn't end up well for him, and that is what is creating his hesitation, is creating his fear. So I don't know if he was in the Robin suit, if he would be able to push through that. I think that's why Bruce sends him to Leslie. Because he senses if he's on the street and his mind is blocked like this, he's going to get himself killed, in the Robin suit or not. If he goes out on patrol with him, he's going to get himself killed, or he's going to get Bruce killed because he hesitates in the wrong moment.
I can definitely see that. That makes sense. I think the way they're portraying this, or the way they're letting this all play out, it still makes it sound more like he believes wholeheartedly that he's got to be Robin to do this stuff.
I think it's multifactorial, right? Like I think he definitely thinks that, because we were talking about this just a minute ago about his background, right? He doesn't have anything. And we're gonna talk about this in a second when he has this meeting with Bruce outside the theater, and he has the conversation with Leslie, and she says to him that you don't have to be Robin, or you don't have to put in a costume to be worth something, or something to that effect. Mm-hmm. But he doesn't believe that at all.
No, he definitely believes that he needs the suit in order to be who he is. That's really who he is, and this is just like almost like a more pathetic version of who he is, and reminds himself of his horrific past. So Robin is more like the thing that gives him that kind of like validation. Yeah,
this you're right. In his street clothes, he just reminds himself he's just reminded of who he was as a kid, and he basically looks like a kid. So like I go back and forth. Given what they decided to do with him this season, and given the story that they told this week, when they first introduced him as the Red Hood, it was like they probably should have just let a couple years pass in the narrative and just recast him. And recast him as someone who was bigger. Yeah. But since they decided to go with this story of him, and instead of the original story, and we can talk about the original story because that's not what they're doing. The original story being that he died, he was killed by the Joker, and he was resurrected by Ra's al Ghul, and he was pissed off at Batman for like letting him die and letting this happen to him, and that's why he came back with this rage, right? So that was the original story. This story is that he's basically a frightened boy, and all his bravado, all his tough guy stuff that you saw from season 1 and season 2, is him trying to hide the fact that he's a frightened kid, a kid who feels like he's not worth anything. So I think, given that, the fact that he's smaller, like he's a smaller actor and he's smaller stature, actually makes sense for this character, since so them rewriting it this way I think he's well cast, except for the fact, like I said, he's not as good an actor as the guy who's playing Dick, because like I said, like we said in this scene, this doesn't look like fear; it just looks like shock. So yeah. Anyway, so we move on. Like I said, as we said, the sessions with Leslie, and in this universe, she apparently was a colleague with Crane, and this is like, as we said, this is where we actually understand his fascination with fear, and this scene actually explains the previous scenes, the beginning of the episode, and also the gun scene when he keeps asking these questions about fear.
Yep.
I think he swipes this, like he looks at the fear toxin here. He swipes it later. He swipes it later. He's going through all these trophies. There's a bunch of Easter eggs here. So we see Catwoman's whip and her mask. I think we see Scarecrow's hood.
Mask. Yep.
Mask. What else is in this vault?
Ventriloquist.
Oh yeah. The ventriloquist dummy. Is that it for this little
Joker cards also.
Oh, the Joker cards as well. Yeah. As I said, Batman's crazy. This is a weird. This is a weird trope. This is a weird trophy case to keep. Yeah, he's crazy.
This Batman is kind of, you would think that he's kind of like playing the I think I said in the previous time that he's like the Frank Miller like old man Batman, but he's much more like creepier and darker than the Frank Miller version.
I was saying he's the all-star Batman from Frank Miller. The more of the psychotic one. So
yeah,
got it.
Yeah. But all Batmans keep these trophies, though. So like, I feel like keeping the trophies is I mean, they're all crazy. It just this one is more crazy.
Yes.
Anyway, so he meets with Leslie again, and that's what she tells him, that you don't have to be Batman, you don't have to be Robin to be worth anything, and she says that that she'll not tell Bruce. And she doesn't tell Bruce. Like, independently, Bruce obviously makes a decision to take the Robin thing away from him. And I think, like I said, he's trying to protect him, like from Bruce's point of view. But I don't think he really understands him. No. He doesn't understand him. I mean, like earlier in the episode, also Bruce calls him son, which like stops him dead in his tracks, and he's like, he's really never had anyone like Bruce in his life, and like I said, for all of Bruce's tragedy, he had Alfred, and he had billions of dollars. He's not had the life like Jason's life. So
I thought that this scene was really interesting in that he almost thought that, I mean, Bruce, and from Bruce's point of view, that he was another Dick Grayson. And that he was kind of trying to explain to Bruce that I'm not Dick, but at the same time, he's like, you always kind of gave Dick kind of like that leeway.
I want you to respect me like Dick, yeah. I want you
exactly.
To,
yeah. But then Bruce is saying, well, I am respecting you by making a different decision, but it doesn't work for him.
Yeah.
Necessarily.
Yeah.
So I don't think that Bruce ever got that message that it doesn't work for him. He's basically asking you to do the same thing as you did for Dick, but it didn't work for, you made you pushed Dick too hard, and you didn't want to make the same mistake again, but it's applied differently to Jason.
Yeah, he's a terrible father.
Okay.
No. I mean, it is. It's not for lack of trying, right? He means well. He's focused on his war, as he told Barbara earlier in episode 1. He's focused on his war, and that's where most of his mental energy is going. Because he's not a dumb person, right? But he just doesn't have the emotional intelligence to deal with these two young men the way that they should be. Because like Dick is pissed off at him for various reasons as well because of how he raised him. So he's not a great father. And maybe because of the way that he was. I mean, I don't know. I feel like he should be a better father, given how Alfred is always portrayed. Even when Alfred is portrayed like a hard, military espionage dude, he's always soft or kind to Bruce. So given that was the father he grew up with, he should have more emotional intelligence than he does.
Well, except for the sarcastic Jeremy Irons one, where basically that one really that one's probably out of all of them, I would say that one really cracks me up like every time.
But even that one, I mean, he has some humor. He has more humor than Bruce does. So I don't know.
Yeah, but it's almost like like there's gonna be like in your dreams, Alfred. Like, yeah, he's gonna find someone and settle down. Yeah, right.
We also got him fleshed out more. Remember we were talking about when we reviewed the Snyder Cut, how he lovingly did the tea, like for Wonder Woman. You could see those little beats with Alfred where if this is who raised him, how did he come such hard? I think this is who raised him up to a point, and then he decided to wander the world to get himself trained, and I think that's what hardened him. So, anyway, as I say, terrible father. This is a rash decision that is going to have a bunch of consequences because he assumes that Leslie lied to him, and he goes to Crane because he wants to get rid of his fear, and he assumes if he gets rid of his fear, his father will take him back because he just called him son just in this episode. This is the only father that he's known. So he thinks that his father will see him as worthy because at this point he thinks that his father doesn't think he's worthy. So it's like I said, this as we said at the top, we spent a whole lot of time saying that this is really annoying. The show is really annoying, but the writing in this episode is really good.
Yes, I agree.
So this whole part is where it really started unraveling for me, though.
Okay.
Like, why did he think going to Crane was going to get him answers? At the same time, what was his trade going to be? Because, again, Crane asks, what's in it for me? And he was going to give up Batman and the details on the Batman. And he's made in the first minute that Crane talks to him, right? He figures out he's Robin right away as soon as he shows him the fear
he has
costume.
because how else would he get access to it, right?
Correct.
He knows Batman destroyed all the fear toxin, and then he gives a piece of information. He said, well, he keeps trophies. The only person that would know that he keeps trophies is Robin.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's just like what did he think he was going to accomplish here? Like, this is so stupid. Hey, Scarecrow, help me!
Yeah,
I'm Robin. You know?
It didn't unravel for me here. It didn't unravel for me here for a couple reasons. Like, he's just impulsive, like, and he's been written this way for the last 2 seasons. He just does stupid things, and that's when he was impulsive when he was in Bruce's good favor. Like, he said it, well, sort of in Bruce's good favor, because I remember he actually sent him over to Dick to deal with him because he was being annoying in Gotham. That's why last season he was sent to San Francisco. But in general, he wasn't like rejecting him. Like, this point, like, he thinks that Bruce is rejecting him. And he started to trust Leslie, and he thinks that she betrayed him. So he's not thinking straight. He's like an impulsive. He's just an impulsive person. Because
I think that's also my complaint is that they wrote him so petulant, even starting in season 1. I thought I don't know. Maybe it was a little too much for me. Is what it is.
Yeah, I think that I mean. Yes, he's saying that he's going to give up Batman. I don't know if at this point maybe he thinks that he's going to be able to turn the tables on him or whatever. But like, he's not like that Dick said earlier in the in episode 1, Jason's not really a reader. He's not really a skilled tactician. I'm not sure why he thought he was going to be able to turn the tables on Dr. Crane. But yeah. So the other thing is that he takes this formula. This guy is in an asylum. He's taking this formula and he's ingesting it in his body. This person is a crazy person. Yep. He gave him a formula. He doesn't understand chemistry. He's just doing following the instructions, and he keeps ingesting this stuff. Yep. Like, not only does he not understand chemistry, even if he gave him the right formula. Yeah. Even if he gave him the right formula, because he doesn't understand chemistry, he could have made a minor mistake that could have killed himself.
Or blown up the lab, or whatever. I mean, so how many is this now on the list of stupid things Jason does? I mean, we've already, I think, passed a list of 10.
Yeah.
So that I think that's where the frustration comes from, where you're just watching this going like, what the hell? Come on.
Now looking back on it, I just feel as though, he could have died here. Like, seriously.
Yeah.
Like, when he vomited
everything.
and stuff, like, I was like, that's the worst that had happened to him.
Where do Mr. Yuck stickers on this stuff, by the way? I mean, because especially when he's puking on it after how many attempts? It's terrible.
Yeah. I mean, you can read this in one of two ways. Like, he's an idiot. And he is an idiot. Like,
he's determined.
But he's also determined. Like,
determined idiot.
He really wants to get this. He really wants to get rid of this fear because he doesn't think he's anyone except without the mask. But yeah, he's not very bright. And I think he senses that Bruce doesn't think that he's as bright as Dick. And as the Bat Sons go, he probably is at the low level of intelligence, even the comic books. I think it's like Tim, Dick, Damian, and then him. So yeah. And it's not.
I've always thought that Damian was a little smarter. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Smarter than Dick.
Psychopath.
Maybe. I don't know.
He's more of a tactical smart.
I think he can. Yeah, he has. We can talk about this. That's not, but I think that Damian is smarter than him in a lot of physical ways. Like he has instincts that Dick doesn't have because he's been trained since he was a child. But right. I think that Dick is he's a better detective. He's actually think through the clues to actually get the job done or figure out the crime or whatever, which is a big part of what Batman and the Bat family does, right? So the beating up the criminals is only one part of it. It's kind of like you have to figure out how the puzzle. And I think Tim is the top of that list, and then Dick, and then Damian. So, that's my list anyway. Anyway, Damian's not in the show though. Tim will show up later on at some point. Anyway, he doesn't kill himself.
Yet.
He doesn't kill himself.
Oh wait a minute! It already happened.
But he gets close several times, and then he goes to Crane. So Crane, it's obvious that Crane is playing him from the beginning, and Crane he gets a formula that takes away most of his fear, but not enough of his fear because Crane wants to keep him on the hook. So he goes back to Crane and he says that there's something off about your formula. He's like, yeah, I know. It's why would I give you all the goods? So this explains what happened in the first scene of the show this season when he takes that drug. We don't know what it is at the beginning, but now we know that it basically took away his fear to be even stupider than he usually is.
Yep. No fear of being stupid.
Yeah. So yeah, they're gruesome with what they do with his body. His jaws is hanging out there. So they said in like episode 3 that Ra's al Ghul wasn't going to be part of this, but I don't think that they really couldn't bring him back to life without a Lazarus pit, so they don't have.
Yeah, that was pretty lazy of them. They basically said, "Oh, Ra's al Ghul's not involved, but we're going to use his like MacGuffin."
This Lazarus pit.
Yeah.
So the Lazarus pit is in Arkham Asylum.
It looks like it. It's at the bottom of Arkham Asylum. Yeah. That's a little bit lazy. That was a little bit lazy.
They couldn't find somewhere else. That's just lazy.
Yeah. So when I looked at it, I was like, wait a minute. It's called Lazarus. That's got to be a Lazarus pit.
Yep.
Why the hell is there a pit inside Arkham Asylum?
So like if even from the cartoon, like Ra's al Ghul has them all over the world. He like takes liquid from the Lazarus pit and puts it in different places. It's like contingency plans. So it's not outside of the realm of possibility that he would have one in Gotham, especially especially since he comes to Gotham a lot, and if he dies there, he can't go all the way back to Nanda Parbat to get resurrected. He might not. There might be too much time.
But Arkham Asylum, though, I mean, that makes no sense.
It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. Unless
like he would have to literally break into it to get there, unless he has like some
unless he
tunnel.
Unless he has some subterranean access.
Yeah, exactly. So it makes no sense, like John said.
I was rolling my eyes on that.
So I don't know how else they would bring him back to life though. I'm not as deep into the DC lore as I am with Marvel stuff. But the only thing that I can think of that actually has brought people back to life is the Lazarus pit, in continuity within DC Comics. I mean, heroes come back to life all the time, but like consistently like this. Like, is there anything else that they could have written here?
No, that's a lot. But again, like I said before, it's like you assumed in the previous episode that they took out Ra's al Ghul, and then it kind of keeps you intrigued. Like, oh, that's interesting. You know, that Ra's al Ghul is not involved, but then Ra's al Ghul is connected to the Lazarus pit. So when you're saying that the Lazarus pit, then you're like, you're just kind of lazy, and like you just kind of teased us that it was something different. But then, oh no, we're gonna go back to the well and say, that's the thing.
It is lazy how they did the resurrection, but they are doing it completely different. It's not Ra's al Ghul's it's not Ra's al Ghul's plan, and in the comics it was Ra's al Ghul's plan. So it is different in that respect, but the mechanism for resurrection is exactly the same. So,
that's what I'm saying. So that's why I looking back on this, I have a huge problem with that because it's like Ra's al Ghul connected to Lazarus pit, and then when you say Lazarus, you're like, well, it's kind of indirectly related to Ra's al Ghul already. So when you say that it's not related, it kind of like you're kind of baiting and switching there a little bit.
Yeah, unless it really isn't. Because my original theory was, as soon as I saw that they were going with the Red Hood storyline, and we saw in the first episode he does that inhaler, I thought, all right, what is that inhaler? And perhaps that is what's going to lead to his resurrection somehow. Yeah. Maybe, I don't know, some drug that keeps him preserved, or...
And
they could also revisit Bane in some ways too.
That's
what I was thinking. Like,
that's
that
what
was like, whoa, that's interesting. But when they said Lazarus, I'm like, oh, come on.
Now, again, that might be because they didn't exactly say. Did they explain exactly what the pit was? I don't think they did.
They did. So, like, Crane said that Ra's al Ghul left this pit behind.
Oh God. In Arkham Asylum.
Okay, all right, I take it back then. Then it is dumb.
see, it's like if they did something where it's like, okay, it's that, like I speculated, I think last week, Nathan, it was with Nathan, that if it was something involving with Bane or something like that, okay, then I kind of like, okay, I give it to you that there's something going on. He might have concocted some sort of resurrection material, but then when you said Lazarus, is like, you're just Ra's al Ghul again. It's like, come on.
Although even with Bane's drug that gives him strength, he's pretty jacked up here. He's like, his bones coming out of his, like, the only thing that has ever repaired anyone from this much damage is the Lazarus pit in DC Comics.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he comes back. He doesn't know what's happening. I was actually so like, after we're going to do the Lazarus pit, they missed an opportunity to make him like a little bit crazy.
Yep.
When he came out, like that would have explained that would have helped explain why he became the Red Hood. Like not just Crane's influence, but the fact that the Lazarus Pit changes you a little bit. But they could have just put a line in there. It's like you're Crane could have just said something about why he's so amped up or why he's so violent, and they didn't do it for some reason.
No, they just took away his fear basically, and he just became fearless. That was it.
The drug takes away his fear, so he's still he's still on the hook. He's still on the hook for Crane. So Crane is giving him a better, because at the beginning the dream isn't the first thing that happens in this episode. The very first thing that happens in this episode is what happens at the end of the episode when Crane is in the forest with Red Hood, and he's starting to freak out. Right, he's starting to freak out. He's like, Dick isn't gonna stop. And he gives him his medicine basically.
So he's a junkie.
Yeah, he's a junkie.
He's a Crane junkie.
Yeah.
Red junkie.
Yeah. So they changed the story to a story of basically I think they matched up a couple of things here, the Red Hood story, but also Speedy's story as well from DC Comics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right.
So he gives him his new persona. I don't remember from the comics because I didn't really read this. I just know who the Red Hood is, but do you remember why he took on this persona? Did it have to do with the Joker?
Yeah, it did.
Yeah,
it had to do
Joker.
with the Joker.
Mm-hmm.
It's because, as you mentioned at the top of this segment, he was mad at Batman because Batman didn't kill Joker after he killed him.
Yeah.
So
right.
because of that, he wanted to remind him that.
Yeah, the Red Hood. Yeah. So.
By the way, his Red Hood, I think it sucks.
It's
his mask.
That's because
it kind of reminded me of like a cheaper version of the Under the Red Hood animated series. It's like this is the same thing but different.
Like, why did they give him the lip? I don't know why they gave him the lip. It's not Iron Man. It's just supposed to be smooth.
I think it's so it can come off in two pieces, so it looks like something that's more practical. Because it'd be really difficult to actually make something the way that they draw it in the comics. I think I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it doesn't.
Cosplayers do it better.
It doesn't look great. It doesn't look great because of his stature as well. But like I said, since they
especially when they pan away on this scene right here.
Yeah,
and you see him just standing there.
He looks
and
small.
You're just like,
yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to body shame the guy, but he is small in stature.
Yes. No, I mean, he's small in stature for this character. Like, for another character, he's fine. Like for Robin, he's the exact right size.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
So, but for this character, he looks a little weird. Especially when you
he's
have
not physically imposing.
He's not. He's not. So yeah, the even though I like this episode because it was, I'm not going to say 10 times better written than the last episode. It was a lot better written than the last episode. The decisions that they made in this episode do take a lot more agency away from Jason Todd than he has in the comics, because like I said earlier, he makes a assertive decision to go after Batman because he's disappointed with he's disappointed with Batman in the fact that he didn't save him, and the fact that he didn't as you just alluded to, kill Joker earlier, right? Mm-hmm. He takes on the persona. He starts to kill people. It's his decision. Whereas here, he's more of a puppet, right? Yeah. So it takes a lot of agency away from Jason Todd. And with these decisions.
Yeah, and this is probably their way of trying to explain away how he ended up killing another Titan, right?
Yeah, and they could explain that with a time. They're still
coming back from that. By the
way. They had to explain it. They had to explain it because it happened so soon after he died. With a time jump, it could be explained because, like I said, he could have been brooding for years, right? If they recast him as someone else. No, there isn't any. I mean, even though I don't know. They'll probably take him back because he was under the influence of Crane, but like he wasn't under the influence of Crane when he went to Crane at first, right? He was just being petulant.
Yep.
So he create. I mean, everything starts with Bruce making stupid decisions, but yeah. I'm not sure how they redeem him, if they're going to redeem him. I assume that part of the redemption is going to be the fact that he's under the influence, but I don't know. Hank, they really leaned into you, even if you've never seen any other season. You really liking Hank, and then they blew him up at the end of the third episode.
Yeah, he's irredeemable at this point.
Yeah. So yeah, this is basically the end of the episode, except for he goes to see Molly, and he vows that he's gonna, do what he said that they would do as kids and protect people, the Crane way or this new way. I don't know. I in continuity with this show, in continuity with this show, how many years do you think he's been with Bruce? Before, like, how many years off the street do you think he is?
Have to be 5 years at least?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. 5, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You think it's been that long?
Yeah.
Considering his age, maybe even longer.
Mm-hmm.
You think it's been that long? I mean, I feel like if it's been 5 years, if he's raised him since he was like, I don't know.
Depends on when he started. It depends on when he started. If it's like 8 or 12, or it could be just like he was 8 years old and then he's able to, it was like around the same age as Turner.
I think he was like 10 or 12 in the comics when he stole the wheels off of Batman's Batmobile, and I forget how old he was when he was killed.
I could have sworn he was a teen.
He was still a teen?
Yeah. Like maybe even 16 or something like that. He was killed.
I feel it's even more unforgivable if he's been with him for more than 5 years, because he basically gave him up. Well, like I said, maybe he didn't think he was going to give him up. Maybe he thought he was making a deal with Crane, but he does this petulant thing.
Yep.
That put him in this situation that now he's being controlled like a puppet. So he's been with Bruce for 5 years or 6 years or whatever. And I in my headcanon, I was thinking maybe he's only a couple years off the street. If he's only a couple years off the street, then this makes sense to me. But if he's been with Bruce for 6 years, I don't understand his decision.
Yep, doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I don't understand his decision.
And there's no way he could be stupid for that long either, right? I mean, if you're going to be Robin, as psychotic as he is, he's still portrayed as some, or talked about as some master tactician.
Right.
I can imagine him keeping a dumbass by his side for that many years. Right.
I think similar to Damien, he has a very particular kind of intelligence. He has like physical intelligence. He's a great athlete, and that's why he was really good in the field with Batman. But I don't think like Jason is helping him solve the crimes. Like he's like the backup there. He's like the backup there to help beat up the criminals. So I don't know. This.
But by the way, just quickly to throw out there, and something that was jarring to me in this episode was Connor Leslie. She showed up out of nowhere in one of his dreams. She is Donna Troy.
Yes.
Where did that come from? I mean, I don't recall maybe I'm remembering incorrectly, but I don't remember them being close enough for him to even dream about her.
I don't remember that either. But season 2 was a long time ago. We had the year pandemic in between, so I don't remember. Like season 2 was also up and down, right? There were good episodes, there were bad episodes. So it's possible that they established that he had a relationship with her. But I really thought that he really connected with Rachel, with Raven last season.
Yeah. So why, unless they're trying to say she's trying to to reach out to him. But
From
also,
beyond-
her first appearance is in his dream. I thought that was a missed opportunity to bring her back in this way.
Yeah, so they're definitely going to bring back Wonder Girl. That's why Raven is gone. She's supposed. They had like a sentence, or like a tossed off statement about her being on Themyscira, trying to bring her back.
Trying to resurrect her.
So I think that she's going to come back.
By the way, they've been gone too long. 5 episodes is too long.
Yeah, especially if they only have 10 episodes in the season.
Correct.
Half of the season. Yeah. Anyway, and also, not only that, but like I appreciate that they focused on Koriand'r a little bit in last season. Although, I'm sorry, the last episode, even though they wrote her a terrible episode, but she's basically the only female in the show right now. Like Dawn left. All the other girls are like on all the other women are in Themyscira. So, I guess they have Barbara, but Barbara's not really part of the core team. So, yeah.
No.
So we will see what the next couple weeks have in store. I'm definitely. Even though, I mean, we've already outlined all our issues with this episode, even though we have lots of issues with this episode, I think we all like this episode more than the previous episode, and it shows some promise. It shows promise. So hopefully they keep up this level. I doubt it. They're probably going to have. If they have 5 more episodes, and they in the first 5 episodes they had a bit of a clunker. I mean, it wasn't like we found some good things to talk about last week, but it wasn't. It was starting to dip down into like CW, season 4 or 5 of a show.
Yeah,
bad last week, with the ridiculous things that they decided to do. So
I mean, Garth getting punched over and over again.
Well, Gar getting punched over and over again was. I mean, I think the stuff with Gar wasn't the worst thing in that episode. The worst thing in that episode was what they decided to do with Blackfire. It made no sense whatsoever.
Yeah, why did they?
She what like
Lines were terrible.
Koriand'r breaking her out made no sense. They didn't explain it. It made no sense. So, and I forget and. The stuff with Crane in the woods went on too long. I think it wasn't. They split the episode into 2, and the stuff with Crane in the woods. I think I said last week I appreciated that they didn't like drag it out, so that by the end of the episode we're like, oh wait, Crane is working with the Red Hood. I appreciate they didn't do that. It was immediate. They showed that Dick is a great detective and he figured it out immediately. That he staged that getting beat up.
Yep.
But the rest of the episode wasn't great. So hopefully for the next if there's 5 or if there's another 7, because there might be 12 or 13 episodes. For however many episodes are left, hopefully they're more of this quality. Or the quality of episode 3, which is really good as well, with when Hank got blown up. Hopefully it's around this quality for the rest of the season. So yeah. Anyway, any final thoughts before we close out? We've been talking for almost an hour almost an hour 45 minutes now. Any final thoughts about Titans or What If?
Yeah, just despite the myriad of complaints I had about this episode, I still enjoyed it a lot more, as you said, compared to the previous episode. And I think what helped was having them focus on fewer characters. And again, the passion comes out in the writing. I think they really wanted, I'm of the opinion they really wanted to write a Bat family story. Mm-hmm. And I think it shows in the way they write these characters. So looking forward to more, hopefully, focused episodes like this, but more focused on the other Titans as well.
Yeah.
As for What If, I think that it's gonna be very interesting to see where they evolve and keep moving forward. The rumors that they're going to have some sort of another team that's going to come together. Be interesting to it was seen in the preview, so it'll be very interesting to see how that transpires and how this might connect to the future movies. And we've seen all 3 trailers that's going to come out this fall, all 3 of the trailers of all 3 movies. I know that Shang-Chi's coming out very, very soon. So we'll see how it all connects together. I'm very intrigued to kind of see all that come together in some ways that by the end of this year, and maybe even more for next year.
Yeah. Well, we are interested to hear what you guys think about the episode, so please comment down below. Like and subscribe for more content like this, and we will see you next week. All right. Bye, guys. Thanks.
Bye.